The New York Jets just cut Brandon Marshall. I thought they could have traded this guy to another team, but they decided just to cut him away. And I think that's a terrible move by the New York Jets. Now, obviously, the Jets are worse without Brandon Marshall. But at the same time, though, they kind of needed to eventually get rid of him. I thought they could have gotten value out of him through a trade. They could have gotten a draft pick or something, at least get something out of him. And a team would have taken him. A lot of teams, and maybe you could have got a pretty good price for him. But I will say this much: Brandon Marshall, at the end of the day, is not always an elite wide receiver. I thought he was in 2015. I thought he was in 2008, 2009. He had his period of time. But the one thing about Brandon Marshall is he is a journeyman. Now, there are some teams that could be interested in him. Obviously, there's been linked to the New England Patriots. Obviously, he'll be brought back together with his former head coach, Josh McDaniels. And I would also look at him as possibly a reunion with the Denver Broncos. I think could be very interesting if John Elway wants to bring in a quarterback and wants to surround him with a lot of talent. And I think that could definitely be a good option there. I've also looked at consideringly. I think the number one team is the New York Giants because when I look at the New York Giants, they need a big body wide receiver. Eli Manning is not very accurate as a quarterback. Odell Beckham Jr. was their offense last year, and with that under him as their offense, he was around 13 points a game, nothing too high. And I would say if you bring in Brandon Marshall, you'll get a guy that can fight for the sideline, good red zone target. And I think, obviously, since Eli's an accurate, big body guy right there, 6'5". So I definitely think Brandon Marshall could be very good with the New York Giants. So apparently, why the Jets are doing this, if you want to look down at it more, they said basically because they're trying to reduce cap space. Now, obviously, they could be trying to get some players in their prime maybe to compete, but ideally, I think that they're just trying to tank, they can so say. I'm not so sure about the next college class coming up, about the next players, and I think they might be partially interested in them. But when I look at free agency, there could be some players that they could go after. I mean, Le'Veon Bell, that'll be interesting to have Matt Forte there and then Le'Veon Bell. It's kind of interesting there. And not only that, I look at him and he is one of those wide receivers. There's always just this one big flaw of him. I think for a big body guy, he drops a lot of passes. So that's definitely something right there. That's definitely a warning to teams. And with the Jets, obviously, cutting Revis was pretty. It wasn't that surprising because if you look at Todd Bowles mauls a lot of the stuff off of Bruce Arians. Once they found out Michael Floyd got caught with a DUI, they just cut his ass right off the team. Just cut him. Just cut him. Even when the season was about over, cut him. And I look at Brandon Darrelle Revis, obviously just a note there that he went on that. And I will be making another video about that tonight, about Darrelle Revis, so stay tuned. But I also will say this about Brandon Marshall. Brandon Marshall can make an offense very, very good and can make them one of the best offenses in the NFL if he gets the personnel around him. But I will say this much. Whoever gets Brandon Marshall, and I'm thinking the New York Giants, so if the New York Giants get him, the Giants are definitely in it for business. They're going to be a real good team next year.